There is a kind of suffering in astrology that does not always announce itself loudly. It does not always come as an accident. It does not always come as disease. It does not always come as visible collapse. Sometimes it comes as a person who is tired but cannot rest. Sometimes it comes as a mind that wants peace but cannot descend into it. Sometimes it comes as a body lying still while the subconscious keeps running. And that is where the 12th house becomes so profound. Because the 12th house is not just the house of loss. It is the house of surrender. It is the house of sleep. It is the house of dreams. It is the house of the hidden emotional field. It is the chamber where the nervous system is supposed to release control and return to repair. So when Vata rises here, the real disturbance is not just discomfort. The real disturbance is that your inner world loses containment. And if you are a healer or a serious astrology student, you need to understand this with precision. The 12th house governs feet, sleep, dreams, restful state, lymphatic flow, fluid release, and deep subconscious processing. It also connects to inner neurological and emotional regulation. So when Vata enters this territory with its dry, subtle, mobile, irregular, cold, unstable qualities, it does not simply create symptoms. It creates a field of inner fragmentation. You begin to see it in very specific ways. Racing thoughts at night, hyperactive dreaming, anxiety before sleep, a heightened fear response, startled sensitivity, trauma resurfacing through dream states, difficulty entering deep sleep, irregular circadian rhythm. And then emotionally, the same pattern deepens. Fear of loss, withdrawal, isolation, dissociation, sudden emotional detachment. This is not random. This is not separate. This is the same disturbance expressing across multiple layers of the being. The emotional body becomes ungrounded. The subconscious becomes overmobile. The inner night becomes too active. That is the signature. Now let us read the planets properly, because that is where the chart becomes alive. Start with Moon. Moon is not just mind in an abstract sense. Moon is emotional regulation, rhythmicity, fluidity, rest, receptivity, memory, and the ability to feel held internally. So when Moon is implicated in this 12th house Vata pattern, what you often see is not just sleeplessness. You see emotional instability at the threshold of rest. The person may become more vulnerable at night. Thoughts become heavier. Old feelings return. The bed becomes a place where unresolved emotion rises to the surface. Moon here shows whether the psyche can soften, trust, and let go, or whether night becomes the hour of psychic exposure. Then Saturn. Saturn is one of the clearest Vata agents in this entire picture. Saturn dries, hardens, cools, slows, and isolates. So when Saturn colors the 12th house, you often get the deeper pain of internal estrangement. The person does not merely lose sleep. They can begin to feel cut off from emotional warmth itself. The sleep becomes thin. The nervous system becomes vigilant. The inner world feels cold, sparse, and unwelcoming. This is why Saturn here can show chronic insomnia, night fear, withdrawal, emotional austerity, and a long-term inability to fully recover. Saturn does not always create drama. Often it creates duration. It makes the problem stay. Now Venus. Many students underestimate Venus in health symbolism, especially in subtle houses. But Venus is deeply relevant here because Venus governs softness, soothing, pleasure, lubrication, bonding, and the capacity to receive comfort. In a disturbed 12th house pattern, Venus can show a person who craves peace, craves closeness, craves emotional ease, but cannot metabolize it fully. There may be loneliness even in comfort. There may be sensuality without restfulness. There may be a longing to dissolve, but the system does not feel safe enough to surrender. Venus in this pattern shows the ache for soothing and sometimes the failure to absorb it. Now let us go to the karmic shadows, Rahu and Ketu. Rahu in the 12th house Vata field can become deeply psychologically revealing because Rahu amplifies whatever it touches. It magnifies fear, it magnifies imagination, it magnifies obsession. So, when Rahu interacts with sleep, dreams, and the subconscious, you can get nocturnal overstimulation. Thoughts spiral, dreams intensify, fear grows out of proportion. The person may become unusually porous to suggestion, anxiety, fantasy, or symbolic overload. Rahu does not let the mind rest quietly, it creates psychic excess. At night, that excess becomes louder because outer distractions are gone. Ketu is different. Ketu does not overload the field in the same way. Ketu cuts, separates, thins, and disconnects. So Ketu tied to this 12th house Vata expression can produce dissociation, detachment, emotional withdrawal, and a strange kind of absence within sleep itself. The person may rest but not feel restored. They may dream but wake with fragmentation. They may pull away emotionally not because they no longer care, but because the inner system cannot sustain contact. Ketu creates the feeling that part of the person has stepped away from embodied emotional participation. And this is why your interpretive discipline matters so much. When you see fear of loss, isolation, dissociation, and dream disturbance, do not jump too quickly. Ask yourself, is the person overstimulated like Rahu, chronically depleted like Saturn, emotionally flooded like Moon, longing for soothing but unable to receive it like Venus? Detached in a Ketu-like way where the psyche has partially exited to protect itself. This is how real chart work is done, not by throwing keywords at a house, but by understanding the mechanism of disturbance. The 12th house under Vata pressure tells you that the person's invisible life is unstable. Their nights may carry what their days suppress. Their dreams may reveal what their waking mind cannot organize. Their emotions may not vanish. They may simply lose containment. That is why this house is so important for trauma-sensitive astrology, healing work, and subtle psychological interpretation. Because some people are not merely anxious. Some people are not merely tired. Some people are not merely introverted. Some people are living with an inner field that does not know how to safely come down. And once you understand that, your compassion sharpens, your astrology sharpens, your language becomes more responsible, and your guidance becomes far more useful. So when you read the 12th house, do not reduce it to sleep, bed, expense, and loss. Read it as the sacred threshold between conscious control and unconscious release. And when Vata disturbs that threshold, the person may struggle not only with rest, but with trust, safety, containment, and emotional re-entry into themselves. If this kind of astrology speaks to you, astrology that reads the house as a lived inner reality, not just a textbook label, then stay with me. Subscribe, go deeper with this series, and keep training your eye to see how planets speak through the body, the mind, the emotions, and the subtle architecture of human experience. Because once you learn to read that hidden architecture, you stop doing surface astrology and you begin doing real healing astrology.